I told you every time Donald Trump lies, I'm going to play that. And Lord, so lying was happening this weekend. I don't know what happens on Saturday morning with this man, but he begins to just tweet stuck on stupid stuff. And that's what happened. This weekend, Trump accused President Barack Obama of personally ordering his phones to be tapped during the presidential campaign. Y'all, look at some of these tweets. Lord, this is crazy. Yeah, he actually tweeted this, okay? You see the tweet? Nuts. Are you serious? Quote, how long has President Obama gone to tap my phones? That ain't even grammatically correct. This is Nixon Watergate. Bad or sick guy. Really, in a statement, spokesman for Obama, Kevin Lewis, said, quote, a cardinal rule of the Obama administration was that no White House official ever interfere with any independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. As part of that practice, neither President Obama nor any White House official ever ordered surveillance on a U.S. citizen. Any suggestion otherwise is simply false. In fact, folks, was even crazier. The White House issued this statement here that was pretty interesting. This came from the Office of the Press Secretary. Shelley, go to my iPad, please. A statement from the Press Secretary. Reports concerning potentially politically motivated investigations immediately ahead of the 2016 election are very troubling. President Donald J. Trump is requesting that as part of their investigation into Russian activity, the Congressional Intelligence Committees exercise their oversight authority to determine whether executive branch investigative powers were abused in 2016. Neither the White House nor the president will comment further until such oversight is conducted. Now, what are they talking about? Okay, so here's what happened. Somebody basically gave President Trump this article from Breitbart. Okay, which is quoting crazy radio talk show host right-winger Mark Levin, who made the accusation. But then when Mark Levin was on television this weekend, Mark Levin said he had no evidence to back up what he alleged. That's just simply what he thinks. Sunday morning shows. Just press play.
I think there have been quite a few reports. I know that Jonathan and others earlier in the program mentioned that it was all conservative media, but that's frankly not true. The New York Times, BBC have also talked about and reported on the potential of this having had happened. I think the bigger thing is let's find out. Let's have an investigation. If they're going to investigate Russia ties, let's include this as part of it. And so that's what we're asking.
Okay, gotcha. Nancy Pelosi, House Democratic leader, she says this is all a bunch of BS.
So this is, it's called a wrap-up smear. You make up something, and then you have the press write about it, and then you say everybody's writing about this charge. It's a tool of an authoritarian to just have you always be talking about what you want them to be talking about. Rather than Russia, we're talking about did President Obama do thus and so.
Now, folks, the FBI, they want the Department of Justice to set the record straight. In fact, this is today's Wall Street Journal. Shelley, iPad, please. FBI asked Justice Department to rebut wiretap claims. So far, the Jeff Sessions-led DOJ has not done so. Joining us now on the phone from Bolton, Mississippi, is Congressman Benny Thompson, ranking Democrat on the House Homeland Security Committee. Here in studio, April Dawes, former Associate General Counsel for Intelligence Law at the National Security Agency. Congressman Thompson, I'm going to start with you. This is absolutely about losing any level of trust or respect for the executive branch, for the president to flat out lie, not consult with anybody. The intelligence community has been knocking this down. This is just, what is this, schizophrenic, bipolar, what is it?
Well, you know, Roland, this is beyond absurd. This man is president of the United States. All he has to do is ask any of those agencies for a briefing on what occurred, and he could get it. But rather than that, he begins a tweet storm, totally unfounded. And so at this point, it's a matter of him trying to deflect from the issue of Russia and him not giving up his taxes. You know, there are a whole bunch of things. But for him to still somehow hold animosity toward Barack Obama, who's no longer president, is beyond absurd.
Well, there's also, though, was deflecting because of with his AG, Jeff Sessions, having to recuse himself and all that news. And, of course, he had the glowing reports because he learned how to read the teleprompter at his speech last week. And, again, that got knocked off the front page. And all kind of stories said on Friday and Saturday he was livid, chewed out his staff, was angry this weekend when he went down to Mar-a-Lago, so-called the Southern White House. And so you have a president who is simply unhinged with a phone and Twitter in hand.
Well, and you have to understand, that phone in hand is a regular phone. He's the president of the United States. He should be on a secure phone that you can't tweet. You can only talk to certain individuals. He has, as you know, opted not to get the ethics briefing as to what he and his staff can do. So that's why Jeff Sessions is in trouble. That's why other members of his staff continue to cross the line. And so at some point, Donald Trump, who's the president, has to act presidential. And these tweet storms are causing serious concern on a lot of our part because that action of these tweets, Roland, is not tweets of a normal person.
Congressman Bennett, go ahead.
I mean, that's my point. All of us understand social media, but you're the president of the United States. You can't act like a spoiled brat.
Congressman Benny Thompson, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much. April, I want to go to you. So, what do you make of this just madness?
So, and of course, I'm no political commentator. I'm just a legal analyst and a lawyer.
But you know this is crazy. Well, go ahead. Well, go ahead.
So I'll tell you I'll give you some perspective on the law. So under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, no president can order a wiretap of anybody. What happens is in the executive branch, one of the intelligence community agencies, could be the FBI or the NSA, the CIA, puts together a package explaining why they think there's a need for a wiretap. And
meaning evidence, meaning we have real concern, probable cause, and it has to be very strong.
That's right. It's a probable cause standard, and that is pretty high. And so what happens is as that package gets put together, it goes to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. Those are all federal judges appointed by life.
That's FISA.
That's right.
FISA, okay.
That's right. And those judges are completely independent of the executive branch in every way. So if there were a wiretap, that would have to be signed off on by a federal judge. So no president can order directly, not lawfully order the tapping of anybody's phone.
So point is you have an extensive process that you have to go through, and it doesn't happen in 24 hours. I mean, you got to go through some stuff.
It is an extensive and exhaustive and thorough process, absolutely. And that's true for criminal wiretaps as well. So there's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the FISA warrants, and there's other wiretaps under what's called Title III of the Wiretap Act. Those also require probable cause. Those also get signed off on by a federal judge, by an independent judge.
Well, first of all, we're dealing in the realm of, obviously that legal analysis is excellent, but we're dealing with somebody who not only doesn't know anything about FISA or legal analysis, but doesn't understand how to run the federal government. I mean, Donald Trump is just winging it. Okay? He's just winging it as president, as everybody expected. We will be lucky if somebody saves all of our lives from a nuclear holocaust, like Ivanka or somebody, or at least grabs his phone. That's the best we can hope for.
But here's the illogical part of his tweet. Follow me on this.
First of all, a lie at its base is illogical, but go ahead.
But watch this. If it's true, right, then it should be investigated. But if it's true, then provide the evidence for it, right? If it's not true, then it's highly reckless. But by the way, if you got the warrant, and it was granted, what was the basis for that independent court to grant the wiretap? Yeah. What did they know, and what evidence was it of Russian collusion, Russian conversations, Russian trying to influence us? If that's the case, he stepped on his message, and it's illogical for him to issue that tweet.
And also, April, this is also this is not just a standard DA, prosecutor goes into a court and says, hey, we want to get a search warrant. This is a different level of clearance.
It's a secret court.
Yeah. It is, and the reason that the proceedings are secret is really just because it always deals with classified information. So of course you need to keep that within certain channels so it doesn't, sort of get too widely spread.
Right.
But yeah, the standard under FISA is that you have to demonstrate that the target is a foreign power or an agent of a foreign power. So you can imagine, for example, the possibility that there were wiretaps against the Russians. Now I'm talking only from what's been publicly reported, but you can imagine that certainly. And in the context of that, you could have U.S. people who are talking to those Russians, who, those communications get swept in incidentally. They call that incidental collection. That's not the same as targeting a U.S. person, right? So that's one of the distinctions that I think is important to kind of keep track of as this story unfolds.
Eugene?
As somebody that comes from the Justin Amash, J.C. Watt swinging Republican Party, I find it absolutely hilarious that the Republican Party.
You said the Stacey Dash winging party?
Oh, no, I said the Justin Amash, J.C. Watt.
No,
we don't do that.
No, I wasn't clear.
We don't do that clueless thing here.
Glossed over that.
We believe in real facts, not alternative facts. But, I think it's interesting that, folk are refounding interest in the Fourth Amendment and wiretaps and surveillance.
No, stop. Folks are not finding interest in that.
I'm being sarcastic here.
A truly crazy man who actually has a nuclear code is.
Right.
I'm being very sarcastic here.
He's reading Breitbart for his information.
Exactly.
Who couldn't pick the phone up and call the FBI and ask.
You have the entire intelligence community at your beck and call. You have the NSA, you have the DNI, you have the CIA, you have the FBI, you have other alphabet letters that I probably don't even know about that exist at your beck and call. Pick up the phone, get an actual report, and if something is actually there, then pursue it. But it's not.
And April, a final comment here from you. That's what a president can do. If this was the case, first of all, let's say this was the case. Could he ask for this report? But also, if he was a so-called a target, would they have to give it to him?
So, assuming, for instance, this is a legitimate foreign target, there was some incidental U.S. person communication swept in. Absolutely, he has access to that information. If there are allegations that somebody in his organization was in fact a target, there would still be appropriate ways to manage that request from the president without interfering with an investigation.
So as opposed,
more delicate.
So as opposed to him saying Congress should investigate, he actually has the authority to get the information.
He is the head of the executive branch.
And he's too ignorant about the way the government runs to know that.
But the thing is,
man, don't even know.
But you want to listen.
He got that much power.
But even if when this was off, Steve Bannon being added to National Security Council. How did Breitbart be able to break that story first?
Bottom line is here. This is very simple. You have the power.
So he knows the answer already.
But actually, I don't think he does. But you're tweeting.
Well, he's got access
April,
to
we
it.
appreciate it. Thanks a lot. A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not going to let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally.
What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.